Good morning everyone, hope you're having a beautiful day and that you're ready for the best camera settings to use. This is an update. What am I using? Why? I think you're gonna enjoy it. It's literally one of the most asked questions ever, so let's go. Alright guys, I can't believe, apparently this is something you guys search on YouTube, Pierre Lambert camera settings. I didn't know. Apparently you guys want an update. What am I using? 2021. Things have changed. I'm on the A1 right now versus A7R3, but my settings actually didn't really change except for a few very important things that I feel have added into my workflow, have made it a little better. We talked about the mistakes I was doing and that I was trying to improve on recently, and I think that was already helpful, and we touched on the settings a little bit, but let's get a little bit in depth. If you don't know me, my name is Pierre Lambert. I'm a travel adventure photographer, the creator of the 30-day Adventure to Great Photo, a step-by-step program to getting your photography to the next level and unleashing the photographer that's hidden inside you. And most importantly, I have those YouTube channels where I'm sharing all the photography adventures, and you've seen me shoot in many different conditions, and settings is something I brush over fairly quickly because, in my opinion, this is not so important. What matters is, are you able to achieve your creative vision? Are you able to actually get the results that you want? So if you can get them in auto, don't bother about a million settings. But if you're trying to tweak, if you're trying to do something very specific, that's when camera settings will come in handy. That's where they will shine and they will help you in your creative process. Okay, so let's get started with the most important. I shoot probably still 70% of the time in Aperture Priority. Aperture Priority is a semi-auto mode. It's amazing. It helps you do a bunch of things. Only set up your aperture, which controls your depth of field, and this is usually the creative tweak that I want in my photos. What depth of field do I want in my images, and thus what aperture. So most of the time I shoot in Aperture Priority. If you shoot Aperture Priority, there is a hack. It's to set a minimum shutter speed. Minimum shutter speed is something that tells your camera, hey, no matter what, do not shoot below that speed. Why is it important? It's important because you don't want the camera to shoot at 1/30 of a second when you're trying to freeze action. So if you're in Aperture Priority and you're actually want to freeze action, for example, you might set it to 1/500 of a second. Very, very important. If you're buying a new camera, make sure it has it. I always repeat that one, and I really want to drill it in people's mind. I think it's a very interesting, very important, very useful setting. ISO, I'm usually in auto, but there are circumstances where the camera will have problem understanding the light, like behind me, right? There's like super highlights and then it's super dark. So that's when I will go in manual ISO and set it myself just to make sure it's okay. But if you go in manual ISO with Aperture Priority, your shutter speed is still gonna change. So you probably wanna shoot in manual, full manual, honestly. So instead of changing my ISO, I will change how the camera meters the light. And to change that, I'm gonna go in the metering mode and I'm gonna circle through depending on what I need. For example, one that's very helpful that I use sometimes is the last one on Sony, and it's called highlights. And the highlights allows you to actually expose for highlights versus trying to do an average of everything. So if I'm in very high contrast and I want to do silhouettes, the highlight metering mode with Aperture Priority is going to be excellent. Most of the time, actually 99% of the rest of the time, I'm in wide or multi, meaning the camera tries to do its best with some AI into it. Okay, so we talked about Aperture Priority. If I shoot in manual, then it's gonna be the same spiel. Most of the time I'm gonna shoot in ISO auto, leave the camera up to do the exposure. I'll set my shutter speed and my aperture, especially when I'm trying to shoot at a very constant speed, or when I'm shooting underwater, when I'm shooting like specific jobs. It's very, very helpful. My ISO, I will set them when the light doesn't change on the specific shoot or section of a shoot. I will go in ISO auto. It makes editing a lot easier. So manual, great mode, but like I said in the video about all the problems that I'm trying to work on over time, is that if you get stuck in manual, sometimes you might miss a shot because you were shooting a panic shot, etc., and you didn't switch back enough or change your settings fast enough to adapt to the situation. So I shoot in manual a lot, and then I switch back to Aperture Priority when I'm moving location, so that if something comes up, I can grab it in an instant. Next, we have the $1 million question, focus points. I had a video that went actually millions of views on that, but it's very interesting. Let's see. Okay, we've got a bunch of modes right there, and the most important mode for me is actually spot focus. Why spot focus? It just allows me to know where I'm gonna put my focus, and it avoids having a wide zone of focus area that the camera will control. I want to control where my focus goes. This is literally, focus is the most important thing. If you focus at the back of my head, the photo is terrible. If you focus on my eyes, it's beautiful. So I'm one of those manual like spot focus guy, or I'm gonna go tracking in rare instances. So manual spot, little spot that then is gonna be around my frame. What else do we need to know? Burst mode, not burst mode. Good question. Well, especially with the A1, I stopped shooting burst. You might think like, but the A1 has great burst. Yes, exactly. It has such an amazing burst that I actually want to shoot single shot a lot. And single shot is great because it allows me to be a little more thought out when I'm shooting versus bursting. I'm gonna go in burst mode a lot when I'm shooting movement with people, when I'm trying to capture one specific emotion, or if I'm shooting action, if I'm shooting on the water. Yes, 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 yes. Burst mode every day. When I'm shooting street, most of the time, the single shot will work and I will try to time my shot perfectly. Okay, when it comes to focusing, I'm still in back button focus. We talked about it, I have videos about it. Back button focus saves your life. It saves you time. It's much easier, more intuitive. That means you can always leave your camera in AFC mode. And then whenever you don't want to focus, well, you just don't press the button. It's that simple. And then DMF right there, guys, DMF. It's actually a cool mode that allows you to shoot in AF, but whenever you touch that focus ring, it's gonna override it. It's a good mode. I don't use it as much as I think I should, honestly, sometimes. Exposure compensation is a tool I use every day, just to make sure if I'm shooting in semi-auto or in aperture priority mode or with ISO auto, that the camera actually knows what I'm trying to do. If I see it's overexposed, I'm gonna go minus 0.3, 0.7, minus 1. If it's underexposed, I'm gonna do the contrary. Woo! Okay, that makes a lot. I hope you're taking notes. We have auto white balance or set white balance. White balance is important. You see my face right now, it looks cool, the colors are nice. Why is that? Because I set my white balance to manual and I went in cloudy mode. If I had left it in auto, I would be a lot more blue and I didn't want that. So sometimes the camera does an amazing job at auto white balance. When you're shooting photos, obviously you're gonna shoot raw, right? Don't try me, you're shooting raw. But I found that whatever you can get right in camera at the beginning is gonna save you a lot of time. I've shot with a lot of creators around the world, and also I prefer when you do the white balance manual, especially sunset, sunrise, because you can dial in exactly what you're seeing on location, and then in post you don't have to like wonder what it was like, and also your whole set is the same and it's much easier than seeing small variations of white balance. So again, if you have control or if you're in the same setting, try to work with everything set, and that will save you post-processing time. Picture profile, no need picture profile, you're shooting raw, that doesn't matter. I always have phase detection on, and phase detection on linked to one of those points right there on my lenses. It allows me to really quickly go from point focus to a phase focus, super convenient, and you can set it to animal, human, whatever you want. I'm shooting humans most of the time, so that's something I use. Woo! Alright guys, so I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Most importantly, if you find something that works for you, stick to it. It doesn't matter if it's not the same as me. Most importantly is to get right your creative vision. That's what we keep talking about in 30-day adventure to great photos, is that concept of visualizing, seeing, and capturing. This is just a tool. What happens here is the most important. Thank you again for watching. Your support means the world to me, and thank you if you got the presets. We've got a great project with the NFTs dropping soon. Hopefully I'll be able to share what I've learned over time with you guys. It's actually opening up a real new frontier for art in all worlds. So I'm excited to see how it's gonna go. Now, see you in the next one. I love you all. Get out there, go shoot, try something different, try something new. Whoosh.